You've reached Monster 911, and I'm Lance Hightower. I've been taking cryptid emergency calls for over 5 years. If you have a cryptid emergency, please call our toll-free number, 866-306-8085. I can help you. What's your emergency? Welcome back, everyone. Lance here with Monster 911. Be sure to hit that subscribe button right now because you absolutely do not want to miss anything from this channel. But it's so good to be with you all once again, sharing yet another terrifying true encounter story of a human encountering something that isn't supposed to exist, a living, breathing creature. And with that being said, if you or someone you know has been seeing something that you couldn't explain, or maybe even something that you heard that frightened you that you couldn't explain, I want you right now to call our toll-free number. It's free, 24/7, and I will answer within 24 hours. I will. Lance will. The number is 1-866-306-8085. That number again is 1-866-306-8085. Your name will be kept confidential, and all reports are treated with respect and sensitivity. We're not here to judge, but rather to hear what happened, where it happened, and I'll help you cope with your encounter. It really does help, folks. As I say, sharing is good medicine for the soul when you're looking for answers. When it comes to what I'm doing right now, some of you ask every once in a while, what are you doing, Lance? Well, I work through the week like many of you, but when I'm not doing that, my other life is a cryptid therapist, an investigator, a podcast host. I'm calling all over the country folks that have I like to stay in touch with, how they're doing emotionally, psychologically, physically. So I'm always busy after hours. When my family goes to bed, I'm still working on weekends. So that's kind of my other life, but I enjoy it. It's part of me, and that is my mission, and my purpose is to help those people that have seen the unexplainable. Like I said, I'm continuing to interview witnesses each week with some of the field video investigations that you'll be seeing soon, so stay tuned. I'm also continuing to write my book. Unfortunately, it keeps getting longer and longer, but I really can't wait till I've completed it, so that's what I do also through the week and the weekends. And one of the people that's given me some inspiration out there is John down there at Honobie, Oklahoma, so I appreciate you, John. Thank you so much. And we'll be talking soon, buddy. Also, we're still bringing you these great shows, classics from our YouTube vault, but also from our never-seen-before patron-exclusive show vault, and soon our 2022 interview and video investigations. And also, be sure to go visit our new website at www.monster911.com. We're on Instagram, we are on Twitter, we're on Facebook. So we've got some really cool merch there. So you guys go visit that store. You won't be disappointed. So let's go ahead and get to the show right now. Like all young kids have to use the bathroom. Typically more than adults, right? And when they want to use the bathroom, they usually want to use the bathroom in the most inconvenient places and time. But it's especially inconvenient when camping, in a tent, outside, even as an adult. You hate having to go when it's early in the morning and cold. You don't want to get out of that nice, cozy, warm sleeping bag to use the bathroom. Again, especially as a child. Unfortunately, this next story takes a very terrifying twist when this little boy had to go pee. With the adults fast asleep, he was the only one up. He got up, and what he encountered and witnessed is so incredibly scary. That night, while camping in a tent with the other family members, he will never, ever forget it.
I've got two little kids that I got custody of. Their mother's in prison, and it's my wife's baby sister had them two little kids, and she got on drugs, and she's in prison and stuff, and so she give them up, and nobody else wanted to take them, so we've been keeping, like every other weekend last couple of years, and my wife said, you won't get them? I said, yeah, we'll get them. So we got custody of them, we got them in school, and we've had them over a year, and they're good little kids. Well, they go and stay with their grandpa and grandma in Virginia every other weekend. And so they take them camping. So one weekend I went camping. He got poisoned, got tick bit. Had taken doctor for that. Next time he got poison oak. Had taken doctor for that. But this last time he went camping, when he come back home, he wanted to tell me something. And so he told me and my wife, and he says, Roger, we sleep in a big old tent. All of us sleep in a big old tent. And said, everybody's sleeping. He said, I had to pee. And so I got up and he unzipped the tent. And he went outside. And he walked outside. He wanted to tell you one. Somebody hear me. And so he went outside to pee, and what he told me, I know kids can have an imagination. He turned 8 years old in April. But what he told me, it sounded like he seen a dog man. He told me, he said, Roger, they were up in Hillsville, Virginia. He said, Roger, he said, went out to the tent to pee, and he said this big old black thing with red eyes was looking at me. I said, was it taller than me? He said, yeah. It said as tall as the ceiling. We got an A-frame ceiling in the house, real high. He said it's black, and he took his fingers and put on the side of his head, pointing up like ears. You know, had two long ears.
Right.
Sticking up. He took his hand, put it out in front of him, way out in front of him, like said it had a real long nose out to here like that. And it said it was black. And he said it had claws on the end of its fingers. And he said there was 3 of them. And he said it was looking at me and it growled at me. And he said then this other one with a flat face and red eyes run them off. And he went back into the tent.
And where was this at?
In Hillsville, Virginia. They go camping up there.
Was it a state park?
They got visitation rights so we got full custody, but they got visitation rights every other weekend, and they take them camping, and really ain't nothing much we can say about it. You know, I don't really like it, but cause see, everybody don't believe in this stuff. You know, I didn't used to believe in it, but I become a believer. But what he told me he seen. And when he's telling the truth, okay, I've been around enough to know. When he's telling the truth, he'll say, yeah, like that. You know, he'll use that in his dialect. He stresses his words like it when he's really telling the truth. And he told me what it looked like. And from what he told me, he seen. And so I got on computer, and I pulled up a Bigfoot, a computerized picture of a Bigfoot with red eyes. And I said, is this what you seen? And he said, yeah, that. He pointed at the screen. He said, that right there runs them off.
Interesting.
What do you think about that?
Well, I have a couple questions, if you don't mind, Roger. Was this at a state?
Yeah.
Was this on private property? Was this in a state park? Was this in a national park?
It was on my wife told me it's on his daddy's land, the boy's real daddy, you know, his daddy's land. He's a druggie too. He don't have no custody. It was on his land, what I was told, and it's woods. I mean, it's just lots of woods, and it's near a river. It's near a river, and it's woods. Okay, let me tell you what happened. Let's see. It might have been last summer. I think it was last summer. They were all camping. Okay, this is daytime, and they heard something come running through the woods, stomping the ground real hard. And they said that Ricky, his grandpa's name's Ricky. They said Ricky and Stephanie, that's Grandma Stephanie, said they got so scared they packed the stuff up real quick and they got out of there. That's what the kids told us. Said we heard something come through the woods, stomping the ground. And it said it scared Ricky and them so bad they got all the stuff up real quick and they skedaddled.
And this was in the same location?
know for sure if that was the same location or not. Probably was, because my wife said they camp out up there on the down in the woods there near his daddy's trailer, where his daddy lives. His real dad lives, you know. And so on that property, and it's somewhere up in the hills. Well, I'm gonna try to find out and be a little more specific about it and find out, you know. But that's what my wife told me. She said she wished she could stop them from taking them camping. Because, see, my wife has seen a Bigfoot. She had one staring at her while she's washing dishes.
Yeah, I remember that's what you said. Yes.
Yeah, she knows they're real. I mean, she didn't used to believe in it. She 100% believes in now, but she just don't talk much to people about it because people think you're loony-toony, you know. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
You believe in stuff like that, they think you're crazy, though.
Well, tell me something, Roger. Your grandson, do you happen to know kind of where his thoughts were prior to seeing this? I mean, does he read about Sasquatch? Has he...
No, he don't know nothing about it, and he's not even... I got the computer in my room.
Okay.
And he don't know nothing about Dog Man. He don't really know what about a Bigfoot having a flat face and red eyes and all that, you know.
Okay, so he has no...
that's what shocked me. That's why I called, tried to get in touch with you, because what shocked me was... See, I told a friend of mine who used to work at the gun shop, because he's had Sasquatch on his property that would whistle and stuff of a night. And I told him about it, and he said, that sounds really... And so he believes in Dog Man. And he said, that sounds really weird. It sounds really, really strange, really weird, because he explained to me what the Dog Man looked like, and he don't know nothing. So that's what shocks me. I know that he don't know nothing about that.
Well,
that's what shocked me.
Exactly, and that's what I was alluding to, is what was any preconceived notions, or does he study? Does he draw them? What does he have prior to this? Any experiences or watching movies? And if not, that's a whole different scenario, a different picture, a state of mind, if you will. Prior to seeing this, and just from no standpoint, no reference, and then he sees this and describes something that very much has the characteristics of these Dogman creatures. And then the latter part of this creature that comes in and scares off the other three sounds like...
I thought it might have been a female Bigfoot that was protecting them kids. That's what I thought it might. That's the first thing crossed my mind. It might have been a female Bigfoot protecting them kids from them Dogmen.
Well, it's very likely. There have been. We've not experienced this, so I'll say that from the get-go. But I will say there have been plenty of individuals, folks from other cryptid shows like ours, that's had encounters where there have been circumstances that one type of a Bigfoot creature has gone in and, if you will, protected from another Bigfoot creature or against Dogman creature or creatures. And I haven't heard too many, because that kind of encounter, or that witnessing of that, is, I would going to say, extremely rare. But but I'll say it's possible. It's likely. I mean, if you have a child that's never had any experience watching shows,
don't know nothing about nothing like
and
that.
then all of a sudden he gets up. I mean, these Dogman creatures can be any time of the day. In fact, there's more sightings during the day than there are actually nocturnally at night. And then, of course, your Bigfoot creatures, your Sasquatch, there tends to be more sightings at night than during the day. But both happen at different times. Of course, the magic hours that you tend to have cryptid activity as far as Bigfoot is somewhere between midnight and 4 a.m., somewhere in that time frame, which fits in this time frame.
Usually when they start coming around here and tapping on the house and stuff. I ain't had nothing happen since. Well, no, I've had whistling. And so I've asked my neighbors and I've asked people, and I said, what kind of bird whistles at 2 o'clock in the morning? And somebody said, well, a whippoorwill does. So I pull the whippoorwill up on the computer, and they go, whippoorwill, whippoorwill. They whistle like that. They whistle a sound that says whippoorwill, whippoorwill.
Exactly.
But this wasn't whistling no sound like that. It was going.
Oh.
It wasn't whistling no whippoorwill sound, and it was loud. And it was.
It was at night.
Just right outside my house. I mean, 2 o'clock. I had it at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and then I had it like about 1 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, wow, that's early. That's too early for most songbirds, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't make no sense to me because, you know, my friend that used to work in the gun shop, he lives in Canaan, Virginia, and he's got a bloodhound. He keeps in the house, his house, and he'll take it outside a little bit of evening, or out at night or whatever, you know, take it outside. And he said he's heard something whistling, and he said that dog wants back in the house bad. And he's heard it, you know, I don't know how many times, but he said there's a Bigfoot up there around his house. So, and he definitely believes in them.
So you're saying that you still have some activity around your house?
Something's going on because you know, that whistling, all the whistling, it was loud. It was loud, yeah. And it sounded like it was in front of my house. First time it was like 2 o'clock in the morning, and the second time it was been about, about a week or so. Probably a little over a week ago. It's 1 o'clock in the morning, and something was whistling. And I was thinking maybe that's that Bigfoot doing that.
Well,
because I pulled the whippoorwill up, and it goes.
Exactly.
Like it whistles the sound like whippoorwill, and
yes.
It whistles that.
Right.
This didn't do that. This didn't do that at all.
Well, tell me something here. I have a couple of questions, not only for your ongoing activity here, but getting back to the grandson, if you don't mind, Roger.
Yeah.
He's 9, you said, 9 years old?
No, he turned 8 in April. The
okay.
little girl turned 7. They're both born a year apart in April.
So how close did he say that these three, and how much light was there? How close was these dog men, these figures, to him? And what were they doing, and how much detail did he see?
Well, he had to have some light. There had to be a light there because he's got a good description of what they look like. They're standing on 2 feet, and they were black. He said they had long claws on the end of the fingers. Their ears was pointing straight up. He put his fingers, like one finger on each side of his head, pointing straight up, showing me how their ears were. And then he took his hand, put out in front of him, said, and their nose come out like this.
Wow.
And he said they had big teeth, and said, as tall as our ceiling. And he said that it was black. And he said it was looking. He said, Roger, it was looking at me, and it started growling. And he said there was 3 of them. And he said then this one with the flat face and red eyes come and run them off. But he didn't. It's late up in the morning. Everybody was sound asleep.
Yeah, I was going to ask who else was with him in the tent. Mm-hmm. Who else was with him in the tent, Roger?
Him and his little sister and his Ricky, his grandpa, and his grandma Stephanie. So it was the 2 kids and the grandma and grandpa. They were all in the tent. So
he didn't scream or yell when he saw these figures?
I think he more or less froze there for a second.
All right.
Because he got out there and he was peeing. And them things were being quiet, and then he looked over, and there it was. and he said it was staring at him. And he looked at it, he got a good look at it, told me what it looked like, and said then it showed, it showed his teeth, and it growled at him. And he said about that time, and he said he seen there was 3 of them. He could see how tall they were. I said, was it tall as me? He said, yeah. He said, as tall as this ceiling. And he told me exactly what they looked like. So he had to have some light because he could see the claws on their fingers. He said it had claws on the end of their fingers. And he said the eyes were red and had pointed ears, real tall and black. And then he said the one with the flat face and the red eyes run them off. And he shot back in the tent.
Well, a couple things.
And you know what? He didn't tell nobody but me and my wife. He ain't told his grandma or grandpa. He ain't told nobody but me and my wife.
Why is that?
Well, we got a real good bond with these kids.
Okay.
We're really, really good to them, and I spoil them rotten. I buy them, I buy them stuff all the time.
That's
spoil
great.
them rotten. And we just got a real good bond with them,
Oh, absolutely.
We take them to church. Hey, I'll tell you something. The second set of Bigfoot tracks I found, okay, I was laying in the bed one morning. I don't know, it's 4 or 5, I don't know, it's probably around 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm just guessing. And I'm laying there, and you ever seen like when there's a storm coming, like there's a tornado coming in the air, and they'll run a red tape across the bottom of your TV?
Yes.
And it'll have on there, warning, blah, 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 and it just keeps running across. Well, it was like a tape was going across my brain, right across my forehead, and I seen these Bigfoot tracks, one right after the other, and it was just rolling like one of them tapes on the TV screen across my brain. And God was showing me something. And so I told my wife that day, I said, I was laying in bed, and I said, God was showing me something. I seen tracks. Well, I had to go to the game land. This is where I had a license to hunt it. It's owned by state property. And my camera was over there. And it was Thanksgiving Day. And this was in 2015. And so I went to get my camera out of the woods. And just as soon as I got out of my pickup truck and walked around the front of my truck, is a turnaround area there. I had my camera like a mile up in the woods. What I did was, so I didn't lose my camera, from the bottom of the road all the way up into the woods, I'd run my odometer back, and I measured it like it right there, and then I had the spot where I'd go in the woods, and it was down in there, so that's how I knew that I wouldn't go bypass it. Well, I went up there and I got out of the truck, and when I walked around the front of the truck, there was this huge track on the ground, and it was a Bigfoot track, and it was 13 long and 8 inches wide. So I got my ruler out, laid it down, took the picture, and then took my SD card out of my phone, went to Walmart, and had the picture developed and blowed up that same day. And I had people look at it, and they said, and it's a real good clear print. They said, there ain't no bear track. Had toes, didn't have no claw marks. And
yeah, I think that's the one that you sent.
Huh?
I think that's one of the pictures that you sent me some time ago.
Yeah, I did send you one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, that was
it was 8 wide, and it hadn't been run over or nothing.
Exactly. Yeah, that would have been a really good print to cast.
I found a print one time on the top of the mountain up here, north of where I live, like going up towards. And where I found the track, I had my camera in the woods up there because the girl at the truck stopped down there and seen a black panther up there. So I'd go up there and I'd carry my rifle in. So I don't go in the woods that good. And I set my camera and everything. But I come out of the woods, man. I'll tell you what, Lance, there was a Bigfoot track up there on the ground. It came out of the woods and it was going towards the highway. and I just found one track, one. But the ground was hard there, but it made enough impression that you could see it, that it was a Bigfoot track. Lance, I would guess that track was as long, if I stretched my arm out from my fingertips to my elbow.
Whoa!
And it's probably 9 inches wide.
That's a big boy.
Sir. It's the biggest one I ever seen.
That's a big boy.
Yep. And this up there, it's just, well, from right there to the peak, it ain't it's probably not about a mile. It's about a mile to the away from there. And then, this Bigfoot investigator, he's the guy I first contacted when I found these tracks. And he said, I'm up around D.C. right now, but I got 2 people near you, and I'm gonna send them to your house. And so he had them to meet me, call me, and they met me at the truck stop, followed me home. But they come here and everything, and looked at these tracks on the ground. The girl was taking notes, and he was taking measurements and pictures. And he said, these are Sasquatch tracks. I said, what is this? What are these tracks? He said, they're Sasquatch. And he says that in this area where you live, he said, we've had several reports in the last couple of years. He said, but he said, we get a lot of reports.
Interesting.
Just north of me. He said they get a lot of reports up there.
Now that's
and he had pretty good knowledge of them. He said they're nocturnal. They do everything overnight. He said one throwed a rock and hit a woman in the back.
Oh.
And he showed me with his hand. It made a great. He showed me how big a bruise was. It made a great big bruise. Hit her in the back with a rock.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
A little aggressive. Didn't want her around.
Yeah.
Definitely didn't want her around. So, how is...
my brother's been out in the woods hunting in 3 different locations. And when he hunts, he walks real silently through the woods. He don't get in the deer stand. He don't plant himself in one spot. He walks around with the rifle real soft, real easy, creeping. And he said, Roger, he said, I've had something throw rocks. Rocks be thrown at me and land right at my feet. And he said he'd think, who in the world's out here, way out in the woods? He's by himself. So he said, throwing rocks at me.
Uh-huh.
He's had in 3 different locations.
Wow. Does he know what that is?
He believes in Bigfoot. My brother believes when he was 15 years old, he's 50 now. When he was 15 years old, they were inner tubing. And he told me where the place was at. And he said him and his girlfriend's daddy and brother, I think they were grown men then, those guys was. He said we was coming around this turn in the creek, a real sharp turn in the creek, a little river there, and said there was these humongous footprints going up the bank. It come out of the water. And they seen it, so they stopped. And they got off, and they went up there and looked at them. And he said something had just come out, and there was a cave to the right. Something had just come up out of that water because the ground was soaking wet. You could see that the ground was wet. And it made great big footprints that went right straight into that cave. And said, that man said, if I had a flashlight, I'd go in there. And he said that the prints were humongous. But they didn't go in there. But he said, if I had a flashlight, I'd go in there.
Well, he better be careful.
Like a train trestle goes over the top of the creek, and there was a cave right there in the bank.
Interesting.
And something that come up out of that water and walked right straight into that cave, but it's black and dark in there, and you couldn't see. That's why he said if he had a flashlight, he'd go in there.
Well, he better be careful. He doesn't want to go by himself, and he doesn't want to just go with not having some protection.
No. Hey, I stumbled across something on the internet. A guy was killed. His name was Have you heard about his story?
No, I don't believe I came across it yet.
All right, I'll tell you what happened. You can hear okay, here's what happened. He went out great. The guy had a real good job. He was like he had something to do with revenue, something for the town or something. He looked like he's about 35, 37-year-old. He was out drinking with some of his buddies. And they were going home. And he said, just drop me off here at this store. I'm going to grab me something to eat, and I'm going to walk the rest of the way to the house. He didn't live far away. All right? So he calls his wife on his cell phone at 2:28 in the morning. You know, he calls her. And his voicemail, anyway, or she tries to call him back, whatever. But anyway, this is picked up on his voicemail. There is something gets that man. And you can hear it growling and gurgling. And it was wicked. It was wicked. You could hear the animal. You could hear it. And then everything goes silent. And he's found several days later, or maybe a month later, I forgot what it was, in a river. He was found in a river.
I haven't heard that.
And they played the audio on there that was on his phone. They play it on there. And it was some kind, I believe, a Bigfoot. Something got him, because do you remember that movie, The Predator, that Arnold Schwarzenegger was in?
Yes, I do.
This animal on this recording on that man's phone sounded similar to that. Sounded similar to that.
I'll go back and I'll look that up. I'll go back and look that up and see if I can get the audio on that.
Oh yeah, it's on there. You can listen to the audio on it and everything. But he was killed, man. Something got him. And he lived up in I think it's around Minnesota, Minneapolis, or somewhere up there where he lived.
Oh, poor man. So Roger,
I just run across that last night on the computer, and I was looking a little bit at it a while ago. Henry McCabe, Macabe.
I'll look that up. So, getting back, if you don't mind, with your grandson, is he wanting? Does he state that he would mind going camping again? Or what was his demeanor when he was talking about this encounter?
You know, he hadn't said. He's a pretty tough little fella. He hadn't said, but he hadn't said. I need to ask him that. I need to kind of pick his brain and ask him, are you going to go camping again? If y'all go camping and you want to go, I'm going to find out. But
would you do me a favor, Roger?
Yeah.
Would you have him, when he's with you, would you have him, to the best of his ability, just draw out what he saw?
Yeah, that's a good idea too, right there.
It doesn't have to be perfect, of course. He doesn't have to be an artist. Just draw out roughly what he saw, if he wouldn't mind, if it doesn't bother him too much. It sounds like he's a pretty calm young man. And if he'll draw out what he saw, it doesn't have to be in great detail, but if he can roughly draw what he saw, and then draw roughly what came in to scare away the other three. Now, we know sometimes that there are, it sounds like that there might have been a Sasquatch there. I'm not sure.
That's what it sounded like to me.
But you wonder, is there, what is that's awful coincidental to have a Sasquatch running with dogmen creatures, which it's possible for reasons I'm not sure, but it is possible. The other aspect is that sometimes there are variations of these dogman type creatures that some are more canine in their characteristics, in their appearance, and there are some that are not so canine looking, that have more of a Sasquatch body and more of a flat.
Yeah, I've heard about them.
And flattened nose. And
they got a face kind of like a baboon, don't they?
Yes, it's more of a Sasquatch-like body, and they don't have the hocks like a dog or a tail, but that may have been another possibility. So if you, when you see him next time, if he'll draw out what he saw, I'll put it on the show.
Okay.
If he wants. If he doesn't, that's fine.
Well, when I pulled up a picture of a computerized picture of a Bigfoot with red eyes, when I pulled that up, just as soon as I pulled that up, he pointed his finger at the screen. He said, that right there runs them off that.
Oh.
I mean, just as soon as he seen it, just as soon as he seen it, he said, that right there, that runs them off, Roger. That's what he said.
Interesting. I find that intriguing. Yeah. I don't find it coincidental that, it happened to be there to scare off the dog man. There must be some association that these somewhat, either one is following the three that were there, or there's somehow an association in their this odd relationship. We don't know yet. So I just find that interesting. I've not come across that yet. There have been circumstances where people have seen this union, if you will, but usually it's not it's more confrontational rather than cooperatively working together. And it sounds like this might be a circumstance where they were not working together. Obviously, their one is defending the child, possibly. We don't know, but it sounds like it. And then you said your grandson, after that one came in to shoo off the other three, he went back in the tent.
Yeah, he went back in the tent. He didn't tell nobody but me and my wife. He told me, when he come back, he said, Roger, I'm going to tell you something. I said, what is it? He said, we went camping and we all sleep in this real big tent, all of us. I said, all y'all sleep in the tent together? He said, yeah. And he told me he had to get up and pee in the middle of the night and everybody else was asleep. So he unzipped the tent and went out to pee. And he said that thing was, big old black thing was standing there looking at him. And he described what it looked like. See, that's why I wanted to call you, because what intrigued me about the whole thing was, because I know a kid can have a wild imagination, but he don't make up stories like he's never made up no stories like that or nothing. But what intrigued me about it was he described to me what the dog man looked like, and I know that he don't know nothing about nothing like that. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. That's what I was alluding to earlier, how imaginations can get wild. You think about something long enough, and all of a sudden, everything becomes that subject matter, whatever it is. So, but being that he really has no prior experience in discussing this or drawing or watching movies online or anything.
As far as I know, he's never seen Underworld or Van Helsing or nothing like that.
Or got into the reading of these cryptids. So that actually is very, very interesting. He would describe specific characteristics of what he saw with the three, and then what he saw with that one that came in. How close did he say?
He said then one came, had a flat face and red eyes, and he said it run them off. Run them off.
How close were these?
I guess he thought he was going to get him.
I guess so.
He looked at him and growled, and then said, then that big one with the flat face came and run them off. They had to be pretty close, because he described real good what they looked like. He said it had a real big. He took his hand and put out in front of him. He said, Roger had a big old nose out like this. So it had a long nose. He said it had big teeth. And it showed me how its ears stuck up in the air. And he said it had claws on the end of its fingers. He said fingers. And he said when it growled at him, he said, looked at me, and he said, looking at me, he was watching me. And he said, he showed his teeth, said it growled. And he said, then that flat one with the flat face came and said it had red eyes, and it run them off. And he went back in the tent.
That's quite a hair-raising story when you want to go to the bathroom and you come and see that.
Yeah. Well, you see, that tells me that them things were already around that tent. They were there.
Yeah, they had already pegged. Now, if there wasn't a lot of food, I don't know what they had that evening, if they camped there and had hot dogs or steaks or whatnot. Sometimes they'll come to smells like that. But if there was none of that per se, then they had smelled them, or who knows? I mean, you could speculate all day long as to why they were right there.
I'm gonna find out what.
If you would.
Something at the store before they go camping, or did they take food
if
with
you
them?
would, did they camp there one night? Did they camp there 2 nights, 3 nights? And where in Virginia is this kind of like in the southwest, southeast, northeast corner of the state?
It's in Hillsville, Virginia, which is about, if you look where Mount Airy is on the map, Mount Airy, North Carolina, it's about 30 miles north of Mount Airy in Virginia. You look straight up. If you look, Highway 52 takes you straight to it. Highway 52 out of Mount Airy, North Carolina. When it crosses the Virginia line, it runs straight. It'll cross the park. You'll go past the Blue Ridge Parkway, and then it goes on up, and there's Hillsville, Virginia. It's about 30 miles from Mount Airy.
Well, it sounds like he's a pretty tough little kid to hang tight like that mentally, because not many people would be able to be calm enough to even tell a story, let alone the details. I can't even imagine how much fright he must have had going out to go to the bathroom, half asleep, and then he sees this. Not only does he see a cryptid, but he sees 3 of them, and then another one steps into the picture. I mean, this kid, he's got to have some mental fortitude to be able to kind of...
I kind of feel like he kind of froze there for a second when they were watching it. And then when the other one come up, and he seen what it looked like, and he said it had a flat face and red eyes, and run them off. I think that he seen that was his opportunity to skedaddle in the tent.
Yeah, I just...
By me knowing him, knowing how the kid is, I believe that's what happened.
Oh, it's very likely.
I asked him, I said, did you tell Ricky and anybody about it? And he said, nope. He hadn't told nobody about it, but I was the first one to tell, and then I got my wife in there. I said, don't you hear this?
That takes a lot of self-discipline. A lot of self-discipline. He's one tough little boy, mentally.
Yeah.
Mentally. So that's quite remarkable, actually. Very remarkable.
Yeah.
So I'm glad he at least told you, because it's always good to share. I'm glad he told you and your wife.
Yeah. My wife said she believes it. She knows, See, we've been keeping these kids like every other weekend for about 4 years. And now we've got full custody of them. We've had full custody of them over a year. We put them into the first grade, and they had them all through that, and then all this summer, and now they start school Monday to 2nd grade. But yeah, that's what shocked me, is when he explained to me, told me, by me knowing what the dog man looked like, and then he tells me what he saw, and I'm thinking in my head, he's seen a dog man. I didn't tell him. I didn't come out and tell him that,
Oh, absolutely.
I kept it to myself.
Absolutely.
I kept that to myself. I didn't want to scare him. I just let him do the talking, tell me what he's seen. But in my head, I was thinking, he's seen a dog man.
Sure sounds like it. The characteristics are
sure
uncanny.
Does. Mm-hmm.
The characteristics are uncanny of the canine version. Well, Roger, did you ever send me your address?
I can give it to you. No, I never did send it to you, but I can give it to you.
Yeah, would you, after we get through here, would you mind and just text it to me? I think you have my number still. And
yeah, I got it now. I got it now where you called. I'll text this number.
Yeah, I'll text the address, and then I'll send something to your grandson there. I'll send him a shirt.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, I want to thank you always for keeping me updated, Roger. I appreciate that. And it sounds like you still have some activity going on there. So if you ever start hearing that again, I don't know if you have a digital recorder close by.
No, I ain't got one of them. My camera, I've got it on now. It sets the video, and it picks up real good sound. When it's activated, it starts filming. It can film day or night. It'll start filming, and it can. And once it starts filming, it's also doing audio too. But I hadn't checked it in several days. I have had it on. I hadn't checked it, but I got my big dog running loose now. I got a big old white. She's half Siberian Husky and half Shepherd. She's solid white, and she stays in the yard good. She's a big dog. She looks like a big old wolf. She won't hurt nobody. She's real friendly. She won't hurt the kids or nobody, but she's a real good guard dog. Boy, she barks all through the night, and she sees something, she goes off. She goes berserk.
Well, that's good. That's nice to have a nice big dog handy. They can be great watchdogs all the time at night, and so that's great.
And I got a little dog that I got from my little girl now. I got him. He's half Chihuahua and half Beagle, and I got him tied. I got him right back to the house. Got him in the little dog house. Got him tied, and he goes off too. He sees anything, he goes off too. They'll both go off. They're good guard dogs. But now my dogs was, I believe my dogs was tied now. I had her tied back up. I just turned her back loose here the other day, but when the whistling was going on, she was tied up.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, when the whistling was going on. I just thought that strange.
Well, it is at night. Sometimes you have songbirds that will actually go into the nighttime hours in the summer that'll still be singing their songs. But typically, now whippoorwills, where I grew up in in the sticks down in southeast Oklahoma, not too far from where I'm at right now, you would get whippoorwills all into maybe an hour past sunset. And then at night, you wouldn't hear the whippoorwills anymore. You would just get you'd get the crickets and the locusts, and you get the bullfrogs if you're near any standing water, ponds, or lakes.
I can hear the locusts and crickets now. You can hear them all over the place.
Yeah, sometimes it's deafening. It was where we grew up because, we had the woods around us. So, but whippoorwills typically will be, sometimes still singing their songs about an hour past sunset, and that's very typical. But typically they'll stop late at night. So if you hear it, especially at 1 or 2 in the morning, you just don't have that. So that's
when it was, because I looked at the clock.
That
shocked me. And said, what kind? And I even asked my secretary at work, what kind of bird whistles of the night at 2 o'clock in the morning? I've asked several people that. Because I'm 62 years old now, and I never hear no birds late at night.
Yeah, very few of them. That's what you're hearing is mimicking of birds.
That's what I heard that they can do. I heard that they can mimic sounds of the animals.
Oh, yeah. They can mimic sounds of people, names, birds, dogs barking, other kinds of sounds. So it's not a perfect mimic, but it's close enough to fool the average person that is not out in the woods a lot. So someone that's out in the woods a lot that knows the sounds of dogs barking, coyotes yelping, and birds, it's just off a little bit. there's something about it you just can't put your finger on, but it's not perfect, and that's kind of a clue. But also the time of day. At 1 or 2 in the morning,
Yeah.
there should be nothing but, like I said, crickets, sometimes locusts, and you've got bullfrogs, and of course you have your coyotes, and they're out at night and as scavengers and hunters. So, well, I thank you, Roger. I appreciate it, buddy.
Yeah, man.
And keep me informed as always. And I'm working really hard to sometime make a trip your way and take Wally Dave and some of my brothers with me.
It don't come around that much, but when it comes around, you know it's here. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, I might just sometime send a digital recorder your way, and if you ever start hearing that, you just push the play button. And then,
I can get one. I work so much, I just think, get my mind to get one. I can get one. I can get one and mount it up on the wall or something out here and just turn it. I'll get one that's like sound activated.
Yeah, well, what you could do is you can get one with you can get a digital recorder for like less than $25.
Yeah,
and then
I've had them before.
And then what you
They're
could do,
small. You can fit them in your shirt pocket.
Exactly. Then what you could do is get a lapel mic where it clips on your clothes, and then you could get one with a long cord, and you can actually put the lapel mic just on the outside of a window and shut the window seal. And so that lapel mic is on the outside, and your digital recorder is next to you, close to your bedside. So if you
okay, I know what you're talking about.
So if you start hearing anything like that, you just hit record, and it's recording on the outside, and it gets a little bit clearer sound, and that lapel mic will pick it up.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's just like you got a microphone on the outside, and you got to run it inside.
Yes.
Yeah, I've had them little recorders for the sound activated, and you can set the sensitivity on it like on high, and it hears anything, boy. It'll pick it up.
Yes, you could do that as well. Absolutely.
Yeah, I may try to get one of them this weekend if I don't forget. I may try. I've got a floodlight. My neighbor gave it to me. It's 300 watt motion light.
Yeah.
He gave me that. Yeah, he gave me that, and it's got a sensitivity switch on it. You can put it on low or high, whatever, closer something gets toward the further away, you can set the sensitivity on it. It's 300 watt. It's a powerful. It's a powerful light. But anyway, I'll text you my address and everything. But yeah, I do need to get one of those digital recorders. I mount it up on the wall outside.
Perfect. That'll help a lot. Help a lot.
I just wonder. I often wonder, how many people around up in here, things are going on at their house and they're not saying nothing about it. You know what I'm saying?
Probably dozens.
There's probably a lot of people up in here doing that.
Yeah. Well, like we say, Roger, for every person that comes forward that calls anyone, not just us, but anybody that have these shows, you probably have 2 or 3 dozen that have experiences that'll never call anybody.
Yeah.
And so I don't know what the exact numbers are, but I'm just saying that for, there's thousands and thousands of people that have had experiences, eyewitness to something that they couldn't explain, very clear encounters, very scary encounters that they'll never ever, it'll go to their grave with them. They may not have told anybody or just one person, and that's it. They have no clue that there are shows like ours and many others that gives people an outlet to share, that realize that they're not the only ones. I mean, they just either don't get on the computer, they don't know anything like this exists for people to share their encounters, and so they just kind of keep it bottled up. They don't say a word. That way they're not labeled as a nut, a fruitcake, and they don't They don't have the ridicule placed on them, so they just don't say a word. And they never will.
Yeah, a lot of people won't say nothing about it.
Exactly.
Shot one in Tazewell, Virginia. He's on the internet. There's a show. I forgot what show he's on. But he didn't tell nobody about it 12 years. He only told his daddy and his wife and his daddy. And then 12 years later, he told this man he'd come on the show. But he was threatened by Men in Black. Keep his mouth shut. He shot a Bigfoot.
Yeah, I remember
that.
that.
Deer hunting.
Yeah, I've heard that one a few times. I remember that.
Yeah.
Doesn't surprise me.
That guy sound like that guy. You know, you can have a gut feeling when somebody's telling something. He sound like he's telling the truth.
Oh yeah, you can tell in their voice, in their story, how they tell the story.
Yeah.
You can glean a lot of. Most individuals have a very good mind audio ability to tell if someone is feeding them full of bull. Even if you don't know that individual, you can tell.
Did you ever hear that story where that guy was running a delivery truck, like a UPS truck, and his serpentine belt broke on the truck, and he's sitting on the side of the road?
I did.
Somewhere down Mississippi.
Yeah, I did. I heard that one. I did. I've heard that one a couple times.
Gosh almighty, I believe he's telling the truth. That was a scary something other right there.
Yeah, he was. Had it not been for a pistol, you know, he even says had he not had a pistol in the van, he doesn't know they'd have probably got him. And that's what we tell people. I know people. This is a big debate, but we tell people at least consider carrying or having, not necessarily on you, but close in the proximity to you, some means to protect yourself. And time and time again, you hear these people that have had extremely close encounters and they've had a firearm, and that's been the deciding factor in who knows what would have happened next had they not had something to protect them. I was just listening today where a gentleman from Oklahoma called in to and he was in southeast Oklahoma where we deer hunt, and he said that he had a cabin near a lake, and I think I know where it's at though, and he says he was hunting in this electric line kind of cutaway. Long story short, he was hit with a rock. He saw this Sasquatch come out and was just mad as all get out. And he got back, he stumbled to his truck, and he put his rifle in the back of the truck because that's where he keeps his keys. Well, the Sasquatch saw he dropped his rifle in the bed of the truck, and the Sasquatch, I think, thought this is an opportunity. So the Sasquatch came back at him, started shaking the truck while the guy is on the other side trying to get into the truck. So luckily the guy had an additional firearm on his side, a pistol, and he shot the Sasquatch above the eyebrow area, just above the orbit, and it ran off screaming into the woods. So, I mean, again, who knows where that would have gone had he not had a firearm on his side. So we just tell people and stress people, if you're going to go out and you're going to do this type of field investigation and research, please take a firearm.
Oh, I won't go in the woods without my rifle.
Yeah, I mean...
And my wife told me the other day, she said, I will not go in the woods, period. She won't go in the woods at all. She's seen Bigfoot 2 times. She's seen it run through the woods. She said it, to her, she said it looks like a gorilla.
That's a fairly close description.
Like. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, it's a fairly close description. So I appreciate your time, buddy. And just call anytime you have any questions or observe anything, day or night. Just give me a call.
Well, I will if I get any more Bigfoot stuff going on around here. You'll be the first to know. I'll let you know. But I'll text you that address here in a little bit.
Yes, please do so. I appreciate that, buddy.
Okay, buddy. All right, I'll see you then. I'll stay in touch.
Okay. Have a good evening, Roger.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Uh-huh.
Bye-bye.